Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, and I'm here with my friend and trusty producer, Max Kerman. Max, what's up?
Not much. How's it going?
Great. We're also here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. Shane, how are you?
Good. What was Myers texting?
Right before we started rolling, Max and Shane were talking about maybe a potential new Arkells video sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, because obviously Shane and Mark are now Juno nominated, I'm sure you're asking them to pitch on the video.
Exactly.
And you just said you were texting with Mark, and Shane really wants to know what the hell you guys were talking about.
Well, Mark texted me.
He was texting me too. See if these align.
As all of our listeners know, Shane and Mark are the directing team.
Yes.
Behind and knocking at the door.
He writes, I'm just hearing the latest dessert. Pretty funny. But to clarify, I was honored to work on Knocking at the Door. And if Shane and I come up with a worthy concept, I can't wait to direct the next one.
What a sneak. What a sneak. So here's what I get. Heard the latest dessert. Funny. And I want to hear this song. Talking about, I guess he's talking about the Drew Grange song. Because he's like trying to like butter me up for a little bit. He goes, also, I'm curious if Max would even want us to direct another Arkells video after your interview.
Oh.
Implying I like totally like...
Ruined your chances?
Yeah. I'm like, why? What happened? I go, I think he's more worried that we don't want to. A little exaggeration. He goes, nothing happened. You just highlighted accurately how difficult the process was. But I forget the pain and want to do it again. I think it's all poetic.
Yeah. We always forget
Better rapper
the
than me.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Time heals all wounds. But other than that, fellas, today on the show we have Chvrches, which is a pretty big get.
Yeah.
People
I was
love this
very
band.
excited about this one.
You were there for the interview.
Yeah, I made a point.
That's right. They got a new record coming out. We're going to get to them in a bit. Also, a little bit later in the show, we have someone that we had never met before, reached out to us on the internet, and he developed an app for the Mike on Much podcast. So we thought, let's bring him on and talk to him. And he was a really sweet guy.
Yeah, I liked him. He kind of reminded me, within the Champagne Boys, as somebody has pointed out, I think Dan Hamilton pointed out, is that 97% of us have like just soft skills. Like it's most of the things we're talented at are like just us talking to each other basically. Like Dan knows how to use numbers. Jug knows how to use numbers. And after that, like does anybody have any like skill besides for just talking? Like
No.
Sean does real estate. Julian does fundraising.
Jay Kelly knows how to use a hammer.
Okay, Jay. Okay,
Yeah.
we put him in the hard skills.
Hard skills, for sure. I think Peak has hard skills.
But Peak, I guess, Peak does.
He's like the perfect
Design.
man, like
He's
jack
got
of all
every
trades.
skill,
Yeah,
yeah.
he kind of does both.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of soft skills.
But
in the Champagne
97%
Boys.
still,
Yeah.
I think is accurate.
Yeah.
So you're saying our friend who joined us, who we're going to get to in a bit, would fall into that category?
No, I think he is way more talented than we are. Like way smarter.
Yeah.
Like when I see a guy doing stuff like committing like 90 hours to working on
But
an app.
still, like, I don't even really get what was going on there.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. That's a great tease.
Okay.
We're going to get to him in a bit. 'Cause again, he developed some cool new app sort of thing for Mike on Much. Before we get to him, guys, there's lots going on. Shit, Max, you're leaving for Korea tomorrow. You're going to the Olympics.
I'm going to Korea. It's amazing.
So for our listeners, you're going to be hearing this episode obviously a little bit after we record it because, again, Max is going to the Olympics.
First thing tomorrow morning.
I'm leaving to go to California on vacation with my wife. And so you will be hearing this a bit after, obviously, all this goes down. So keep that in mind as you listen to this. But Max, before you head out on your journey, what's going through your mind?
Oh, man. Well, probably most people who listen to the show probably have some sense of what's been going on if you follow on Arkells socials. Basically, we announced the rally in Hamilton. Tessa and Scott announced the show in a kind of a funny video that your brother Greg Veerman wrote, and they filmed it themselves and sent it back to us. That's how that video came together for Arkells rally.
Who
in
edited
Hamilton.
that?
Felix and I.
Good job.
Yeah, I put the copy and Felix cut it up. He did it all. He did
That's
a good
great.
job. And then the next day, I'm telling kind of the Coles Notes version. The next day, someone from the Canada Olympic House in Korea tweeted saying, "This is so cool. And by the way, Arkells are playing 24/7 at the Canada House. And we honor the athletes every day with knocking at the door." Then we tweeted back.
Who tweeted you that? Cax Merman?
Yeah, it was me.
Olympic
the whole time.
athlete? Yeah.
No, somebody who just works for at the COC.
That's amazing.
And then the next day, so then we tweeted back saying, we should just come to Korea and play for athletes. And then we just copied Air Canada. And then Air Canada said, sure, let's do it. So now we are flying over there. We got the band. We got Manager Ash is coming. We had a videographer, crew guy, Corey. Corey, who's filming it. He'll be, documenting the whole thing.
Who is this guy?
Corey Schaefer. You know Corey. He does all the live Arkell stuff.
Oh.
Shane just gets jealous immediately.
Well, pull out the texts.
Just no one asked me, no.
Would you have gone to Korea if you were asked to go video document?
Well, if I was asked, yeah.
Well,
I guess I don't have to worry about it now, though. All right.
The tension.
Good luck,
here.
Corey.
But yeah, so we've just been running around just trying to figure out how this is all going to go.
You're also burying the lead. The rumor is that the Nut is also got a spot on this plane.
The Nut is coming too because he has a connection with the COC people who help put it all together.
Right.
So, and he's part of the crew. He's going to be helpful. We'll make him carry stuff.
Did he have anything to do with making this happen?
He knows some people there that are involved. So dots were connected, and it was he was very helpful.
He's a dot connector.
He's a dot connector. But one little piece of controversy I'll say is that
he takes up 2 seats.
No, is that he? So there's a contact we have at Apple who's hooked us up with free phones in the past.
Oh yeah,
she hooks up the band. She's so nice, so helpful. She's brought us in, like they had their staff teach us how to use GarageBand.
The greatest phone of my life I have is a phone that you gave me.
That's right.
Was it like an Apple 7
Plus? Because I got
Plus?
a new one and I handed it down to you.
This is the best part about sort of being your friend is every once in a while, like the rain trickles down to the rest of us.
Well, this is it because Greg's my roommate and sometimes I get free clothes from Top Man, and then once I'm sort of done wearing them, I just put them on his bed and he gets to wear them for a while.
Your trash is his treasure.
Exactly.
Not the Top Man's trash. They were a fantastic sponsor for the Coachella trip.
And no, their stuff's amazing.
Shane's wearing the jorts right now.
So we had, so I was sort of thinking about this long flight to Korea and thinking about how I need to watch some shows, right? And on the iPad, I don't know if you know this.
I just like the way you said it.
On the iPad, like that. On the iPad, you can download movies to Netflix. Did you know that?
Of course.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that. So I put in a request.
I learn on the iPad.
Guys, I'm working through this. It's had a long day, guys.
Oh man, no, we're all overworked. Keep it going, baby.
So I reached out to our gal at.
I reached.
Why am I talking like this? Oh my God. Okay. I reached out to our gal at Apple and I asked for an iPad. And I heard through Manager Ash that they only maybe had one iPad left, like in stock in their office. But you know who else had put in a request?
Who?
The Nut.
The Nut. And I said to Manager Ash, I said, if the Nut ends up with that last iPad, he's not coming on the fucking flight.
Wow.
Like, he's not coming. But look at that bag over there. It's a new iPad. I got the iPad.
Yeah, you win.
Yeah. So
You got it.
Shouts to Apple for hooking me up.
Does the Nut know yet that you got his?
I don't think the Nut knows. But when I whip that thing out tomorrow, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be smiling.
The Nut just thinks he can ask for iPads and get them?
Well, the Nut gets more free stuff than me or any of us.
Honestly, he's always got new shit from Nike.
He's got new Nikes.
Yeah.
He's got new Nothing he has, he's bought. Did you know that?
No.
He doesn't own one thing that he's bought himself.
Someone gave him that house that he had.
But what's the advantage to giving that to him? If I was Nike, I would not want him wearing my stuff.
The opposite of an influencer. A deterrent. Guys, we got to send him more stuff. He's the #1 deterrent in the market.
Yeah. So, there's just relationships because that's not our world. Like these people that work with brands and do stuff, it's like they're always doing each other favors, which I get it.
Yeah.
It makes sense because like they pay each other back in favors. So that's why he probably asked. But
I like that you snaked it.
oh my God.
If he had gotten your iPad, would you really have booted him from the trip?
No, but I would have been fucking furious. I would have been so angry. Like, and I don't know why. I usually am not too attached to material things. Like, I don't yearn for really anything. I have like a working laptop. That's all I want. My iPhone, like those two things are fine. But I got really weirdly focused on getting this iPad, maybe because I knew the Nut might get it instead.
Yeah.
And I was like texting Manager Ash like once an hour to be like, have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? Yeah, it was just so obnoxious. So I don't
Start
know
calling
what's
it
into me.
a MyPad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good work.
Thank you.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, by the time this comes out, we'll have been to Korea and back or going for 5 days. So I don't know. Next time we all see each other, we're going to have a lot to report on. Should we do like a 3-way call-in or something? Or you don't want to do that, right?
No, hey, listen, the thing about this pod is it's not work.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going on vacation for my day job, but talking with you guys, we were going to actually, because you were originally going to go to LA to do songwriting, I think.
Yeah.
And we were going to hook up and maybe do like
That's
some pod
right,
thing and
and it
get
got
Caine to
canceled.
call in. Yeah.
So I wonder if there's a way we can organize like a group chat or something.
I like a good group
That'd
chat.
be cool when we get back.
Okay.
Okay. Let's
Sweet.
stand by for that.
Well, do you guys want to get to Dan Command?
Let's get to Dan Command.
Commander Dan?
Yeah.
It's actually Dan Command, as we learned
Yeah.
after introducing ourselves to him. So, like I said, this fine fellow who's a software developer reached out to us and said that he did some work on our behalf just because he wanted to develop an app and he listens to the pod. So, man, thank you so much. And you guys want to get to that bit?
Let's do it.
We're sitting here with Dan Command.
Hello, everyone.
Is that how you say it?
That is how you say it.
All
Yes.
right. I was saying Dan Command, which sounded like a very cool last name.
Yes, it does sound much cooler, but the real pronunciation is indeed Command.
Yeah. Well, the reason that you are here is because you reached out to me. You emailed me. How'd you get my email address?
I searched the internet and tested out a few.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah.
like that.
Okay, sweet.
Internet sleuthing.
Yeah, it's very good work. So I got an email from you, and you said, "Hey, man, I listened to the pod a little bit, and I'm a developer. I do software stuff, and you developed like an app for Alexa. You're
Yeah.
like, do you guys know how Alexa works?" And our only frame of reference was we were at a hotel in Buffalo once, and remember I asked Alexa what was the best Star Trek? And,
Yeah,
and she
that's
said
right.
The Next Generation, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am down
that
with
the correct
Alexa.
answer?
Fuck yeah. Anyway, so that was all I said, and I was like, guys, like, should we have him out? You're like, can I come out and show you guys what I did, essentially? And everybody was down. What were you guys' thoughts when I forwarded his email?
I had no clue what it could possibly be. Like you made an app for the Mike on Much.
Yeah, I can
podcast.
explain a little bit of what it is if you guys want.
Yeah.
Like I
let's
couldn't
do
be
it.
excited or not excited. It's just such a weird thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still pretty new. So Alexa is made by Amazon, and it sort of falls into that category of personal assistants or like voice assistants or voice platforms. So like Google Home, Siri, Amazon Alexa. And it comes on devices like this. So this one that I have right now is an Echo Dot. There's a bigger one and an even bigger one. And you can ask it questions like, what's the best Star Trek? You can ask it for the weather. You can ask it for sports scores. But then it also connects to apps. So it connects to my Spotify. And because I'm a software developer, I can develop software for it and sort of make it do anything I want. So I thought it would be cool, since I'm a fan of the big fan of the pod, to make an Alexa app. They're actually called Skills. So Alexa Skills are the same as iPhone apps. They just name them something more complicated.
And what's your background in education?
So I have a university degree in media communications, not anything related to software development. And then a couple years ago, I did sort of a programming boot camp here in Toronto, Bitmaker. And they sort of teach you in 9 weeks the basics of programming. And then I just sort of stuck with it for a couple years and just got a little bit better all the time.
Is this your full-time job programming stuff?
Yeah, so I'm a software developer. I work for myself. I have a company called Plan A. So you can check us out at www.
Hey, come on. This isn't a... This isn't...
You're always promoting your band on this podcast.
I'm kidding. Sorry, carry on. What is it?
So it's workwithplana.com. You can email me at
No.
at workwithplana.com.
No, go ahead. What's your email?
There's a purpose to this.
Yeah.
And so you can reach us there. And if you have any questions about any software development, Alexa stuff, Google Home stuff. So the skill, basically, the way it works is you say, like, open the Mike on Much podcast. It'll ask you what episode you want to hear. And then you can either tell it the episode by the episode number or the episode guests. And then it will just play that episode.
Can you ask it what the best Mike on Much episode is?
I would have to program that.
What would
So
you
you'd
say?
ranked-
I like the Jeremy Taggart episode.
Hey.
Oh wow.
I like episode 3. The dessert is very funny. Shane's got a funny story.
What was the story?
The story was about how you went on a Tinder date, but the girl said she wanted to go to McDonald's. And you
yeah.
this is a while ago. This is like
Oh, right, yeah.
But then
years
she
ago.
ended up wanting.
I ended up
expensive
going
meal.
real expensive place, didn't I?
Yes,
Earl's.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that
Yeah.
girl's engaged now.
Really?
Yeah.
You
How do you
follow
know
your
that?
ex Tinder dates?
Yeah. I have a policy. I don't remove any. Once I start following you, You're stuck with me for life?
That's
But,
a funny way to put it, though. You're stuck with me for life. You could also spin it the other way, where it's like, I just want to keep tabs on you for the rest of your life.
I keep tabs on you for life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you develop an app for that so Shane can keep a tab on his Tinder?
100%.
Yeah.
We can say, how's so-and-so doing? Last seen at the corner of Queen and Spadina. Give the coordinates.
She no longer wants to speak with you, Shane.
Yeah.
She said, stop messaging her.
Sweet. So this demo that you're going to do for us,
Yeah.
that Alexa that you have here sitting on the table, it's going to speak, right? It's going to do
Yep.
things. So should I hold my mic up to it once you start doing your thing with it?
For sure. So hopefully it's going to work, and we can say, Alexa, open the Mike on Much podcast.
Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. Which episode would you like to hear?
Play the episode with Letterkenny.
So there you go. So this is the letter capping.
Yeah, so it has access to every single episode. The episode with Lena Waithe just came out as well, and we can turn it down a bit. But so you can ask for the number, so you can say play episode 50.
Hey, Alexa, stop playing the episode.
Wow, that worked.
So yeah, you have access to every episode. You can ask for the guests or for the number. You can also just say play the latest episode or play the newest episode, and it will play the latest one. And yeah, that's basically how it works. It's actually live. People can enable it right now.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
How much are we selling it for? And what's our cut?
Well, I got to talk to you guys about that. So. You can't charge for skills just yet. I think that's probably something Amazon's going to do in the future. But because it's so new, I think they're just everything's free. Sort of like when apps came out, everything was free or 99 cents. So it's all free now. But I have the link. I can fire it off to you guys, and you can send people there. If they have an Alexa device, they can turn it on, and then they can listen to the Mike on Much podcast.
If we were to start charging for this, what would be a good rate, you think?
To charge people to listen? Or
Well, just this thing. You said we could charge people for this.
You don't know how it works. I just want to charge.
I don't know. They're going to introduce paid skills in the future. I've seen, there's games or other skills that are like $5 to use or a couple bucks a month to use.
But whatever this is, there's no way to monetize
No,
off
not
it.
yet, unfortunately, Shane.
Okay, but if we were to,
Yes.
would we split it or would you get it all?
I tell you what, at $5 a month, you can have it all. That's for you.
wow,
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
binding.
He's got a baby on the way, so
Yeah,
we
okay.
appreciate that.
That's cool.
Nice.
Cool. How long did it take you to develop that?
It took me a while because there's a lot going on, but it probably took me 50 hours maybe.
Holy shit!
whoa.
Yeah, so the reason it took so long too is that I had to get an MP3 version of every single episode. So I downloaded every episode from YouTube, pulled the audio off, converted it to an MP3, and then I made a database, put every episode in the database,
Whoa.
and then connected it to the actual software. So
That's piracy, brother.
I know. Is this where you guys arrest me? Someone's coming in.
There's a cop waiting
Bell
outside.
Corporate is outside that door
Yeah.
right now. No, I'm down. People should download all our stuff and rip it off. We don't care.
Have you thought about any sort of quirky little cheat codes? Video games, if there's a special level or any commands that you think would be funny?
Is that a pun on my last name?
I was wondering.
See, I've only accidentally done puns in my life. I've never done a
like
pun on
little Easter
purpose.
eggs you can leave in there, and people can unlock them with certain words.
Yeah, exactly. Or something a developer. It's like if they're your favorite episode, or
Yeah, what's the best episode of Mike on Much? And then it says what it is.
Yeah, I mean, whatever we want to program, we can program. So
Okay, here's a question: how long would it take for you to program and find every time one of us is sworn on the podcast?
again, it would take a long time only because there's about 100 episodes. All the specials are in there too, so you can say play the episode with Melissa Merck, and you can listen to the Coachella special.
Oh.
And the Dessert in the Desert, parts 1 and 2 are in there.
Damn!
And,
Wow.
So
Do you put digital desserts on there?
you can say either. So I trained it to just say Digital Dessert or Dessert in the Desert. I was playing with
impressive.
it this morning, and I just said I wanted to make sure it worked, so I just said the episode with Melissa Merck, and it plays.
Is that the one where he threw his ring in the
Yeah,
pool?
that
the
almost
one.
ruined my life, that one.
Yes, I'm familiar with the story afterwards as well. Yeah, so the Mike's engagement special is in there, the Juno special is in there, the Bachelor finale special is in there.
You don't like that one, I can tell.
No, I love it.
Alexa, what is the worst episode of Mike on Much?
Is the code totally different from Amazon to Google? Because we have a friend, Dan Hamilton, who we talked about on the pod.
Dan Hamilton follows me on Instagram.
Come on!
I swear to God.
Why?
Watches my stories. I don't know. I follow him, and he followed me back.
Man.
But without any
I've
previous
never met-
contact.
well, I only know Dan Hamilton from the pod. Right?
So he's a
Ice cream
Google Home
sandwich
guy.
saga. Yeah.
Who's smarter, you think, you or Dan?
Who's smarter?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what does Dan Hamilton do for a
He's
living?
in like this.
No, we
kind of
can't talk
field.
about it though.
Oh, we can't?
Yeah, it's highly top secret.
Oh, okay.
What do you think of? We'll talk off mic.
Off mic, cool.
What do you think of Dan's lifestyle through his Instagram stories?
Well, I haven't been following him that long. The last thing that comes to mind was, and you guys talked about this, is when you stayed with him, Max.
Oh yeah, with my bindle.
Yeah. And he led us on that little treasure hunt of,
Oh yeah.
of indications that you were there.
Oh yeah, that I was leaving my mess everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Haven't followed him for that long, so he's still a mysterious guy to me.
Which champagne boy captures your imagination the most?
Like, who am I most curious about?
Yeah.
Julian.
That's a good one.
Nice.
Because
Who's the
he's
most?
never been on the pod, right?
No.
But
He
you guys do
refereed
talk
the
about
live
him
show.
a lot.
Yeah, he was at the live show.
Okay, yeah, so I wasn't there.
What? Who's your least favorite champagne boy?
Oh, no, I don't have a least favorite.
Okay, very diplomatic. I like it.
Yeah, you're trying to cause trouble over there,
Yeah,
Max.
no, this is exciting.
Wait a second. Actually, could we program that into Alexa though?
For sure.
Like, Alexa, who's the cheapest champagne boy? Greg Veerman.
You guys give me the
Yeah, it's Greg for sure. Yeah.
you guys give me the data and I can make it. There
Well,
you go.
Dan Command. Am I saying that right?
You're saying that right.
Great. Thank you for coming on, man. And where can people find you? Because this is amazing work.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. It's just my name, DANCOMAND. You can email me at dan@workwithplana.com or www.workwithplana.com.
We got Dan a gift.
Oh, Max. Okay.
Amazing.
Wow, we got Dan a gift.
We got Dan a gift. Arkel's rally tickets. Not tickets. Cookies.
Just as good.
Yeah.
The cruelest thing ever.
I mean,
He'll actually use the cookie though.
Yeah. No, that's very good. Thank you so much.
No, enjoy that.
I really appreciate the opportunity. You guys responding to my email, inviting me here. It's great. Thanks so much.
No, this is so cool, man. Seriously, thank you.
All right. Dan has just left the studio. Thanks again to him for putting in the 50 hours to do that app.
So, like, what do you guys think of that thing?
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't like. How did that take 50 hours though? That seems like a lot of time.
Because he had to personally grab every one of our episodes and put it into that database.
That's insane.
And coding.
Wow.
I don't know how it works, but it seems like there's a lot of little numbers and letters.
I want to see if Surrey will do that. Surrey, play Mike on Much.
It's Siri, by the way.
Oh, you're the good one at saying stuff? Michael Bublé.
Michael Bublé. All right. So we're now Alexa guys. Oh, Surrey.
Oh, Surrey, British
No,
Columbia.
that's Tony Bennett. Oh, and Michael Bublé.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. And Shane, your goal is to figure out how to monetize it.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's the thing. Like, sometimes if you don't get on these ground floor discussions, then you don't, like, he ends up being a tech billionaire and we get nothing.
So you want to be one of those early investors like Sean Parker and Napster.
Exactly. You know how everyone's like, haha, that'll never be a thing. Or what is Twitter? It's just a Facebook status.
Yeah.
And then it blows up and you just miss your opportunity.
Yeah. So you're always looking. I like that.
Look at you with the iPad. iPad, sorry. No, iPad. Well, I don't know what you call it.
iPad.
All right, fellas, today on the show, like I said, we have Chvrches joining us. We have Ian, Martin, and Lauren all in the room. Max, me and you were both there.
I was genuinely nervous to meet them.
I know. It was fascinating to see you before as we were kind of prepping. I was like, wow, Max has got a bit of he's got like a nervous energy.
Yeah, well, I've read a lot of interviews with Lauren, and I've heard her on podcasts and stuff, and she's much smarter than everybody. And so I wanted to make sure the questions were good. And then meeting the other two dudes in the band was delightful. They couldn't have been easier to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. It's like we interview lots of different people, and like 98% of them are just like straight up really nice. But there was an ease to the conversation with them that I felt was completely unique and just the nicest conversation we've had.
Yeah, they seem like genuinely good people and just, engaged. It's kind of what we always wanted to set out to do. It's like just sitting around at a bar and having a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes when there's like a dynamic between the guest and the interviewer where the guest is like sort of on the pedestal or it seems less conversational. It's more question asked, but they really felt like a real conversation with those guys.
Yeah, man.
Did you ask about the Finn Wolfhard lookalike situation?
The meme, the famous meme, we did not.
Oh, we didn't. Oh, yeah.
Did you ask why they put a V in there?
No.
'Cause I was calling it Chvrches forever. I was.
Well, the answer I think is essentially so they could people on the internet
Could find
could
it.
find it.
Smart. It's really smart, especially when searching like iTunes and stuff.
And yeah, the reason I didn't ask is just because I feel like they get that question probably all the time. But the Finn Wolfhard one would have been fascinating because that meme went pretty viral.
Well, I heard you beforehand. It seemed like you were going to go for it.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
But then again, like Max said, it got conversational. There wasn't really a spot. But Max coerced me into doing a Michael Caine impression.
Oh, I love that.
So stick around for that.
We usually only get that Michael Caine impression after 1 a.m.
I got to say, doing it sober made me nervous as hell.
It was good. You delivered. It was
You
awesome.
did it on the internet also.
When did I do that?
I woke up one day and it was on the Insta story.
Oh, it was, again, drunk. It was after the basketball game.
That's right.
The other day I woke up and I got a notification. It's like Mike Veerman went live 2:37 a.m. I was like, I missed this. I was so curious what you did.
Mike's looking shocked.
That's
right
a
now.
mistake, boy. I don't know what happened, but I don't even know how to go live on my Instagram. That's really
Okay.
funny.
So I didn't miss anything. Maybe.
You did.
Maybe it was a butt.
You might have
live.
missed everything. I don't know. Like, I don't know what I was doing. At
You might have
2:37.
missed everything.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there you go. Keep an eye out for my feed. You never know when I might go live. You guys want to get to Chvrches?
Let's do it.
All right. They got a new album coming out. Again, it was embargoed when we interviewed them, the title of the album, but it is out now. So we could say the album is called Love is Dead. Check it out. I'm sure they're on the road. Thanks so much again to Ian, Martin, and Lauren for joining us from Chvrches. Let's get to it.
So you're getting all the press out of the way as much as you can.
We
right
are.
now.
Yeah, we're getting out in front of some stuff, which is unusual for us because we're usually on tour the entire time.
Sure.
So this is great.
Nice.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we were
Ian, that you
saying-
don't have a microphone. I just
it's
noticed.
quite all right.
But I saw an interview visually. I think you guys did with NME or maybe I don't know what it was. But you had wonderful mic technique. You were going back and
Thanks,
forth
thank
between.
you.
Yeah.
It's my former. I did a master's in multimedia
Journalism.
journalism.
Journalism
I know how to
backgrounds.
handle a microphone.
Yeah, mic technique.
yeah.
Sorry, you were saying you got all the press out of it. You guys are doing Toronto, New York as well?
We've done a bit of stuff. Yeah, just setting up the record. It's just a luxury that when you do a full day of press, you don't have a gig to do at night, which is awesome because
Yeah.
we just do whatever we want at night. Good.
Just enjoy the cities.
Yeah, I just feel bad about the Ian Mike thing now because we've been accused of silencing Ian on the internet. Like, these kids think of the.
If he had come in first, he would have had a microphone.
Yeah,
so
right.
that's
Yes.
the truth of it. I mean, it's always interesting just kind of going and doing press in cities as opposed to playing shows. I mean, I guess it's part of the job, but do you guys sort of get to explore the cities more than if you're playing them?
Sort of. I feel like it obviously, like when you're on tour, you have to kind of tuck and roll and just do what's what. But I feel like we're better at both things if we do them separately.
Right.
I've kind of noticed. Like I feel like we're better at doing promo when you're not worrying about. Like for me, I'm like not worrying about talking all day and what will that do to my voice and like are we going to get back in time for sound check? Like is the Juno going to be working properly? Like all these things. And then and vice versa, if you're doing a show, then if you're doing the promo, you want to be like mentally engaged and here and like actually saying something that's not completely stupid.
And these days add up too, because it doesn't seem like it should be tiring because you're just kind of sitting on couches talking. But over 4 or 5 interviews, it is, and then you have to do a show at the end of the day.
Well,
it
and, like,
does all add up. The
yeah,
miles,
if it's like 45-minute interviews, and I feel like the bit where my voice gets the most tired is talking during like in stores.
Yeah.
Or talking just when I haven't done this, like talking to people in a parking lot afterwards. Like we always do that, but afterwards I'm like, oh yeah, my voice like really hurts now because you've just been constantly talking at people because you want to be nice, you know.
Of course. We I'm in a band and we toured with Frank Turner.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And actually we're going over there in the spring with him. And that guy can stay up till like 6 a.m. at the pub talking to every single person. He does like a DJ set.
Whoa.
I don't know. He's like has this sort of like superhuman rock guy strength.
He never blows
Warrior.
out his voice.
Sometimes he does.
Because and it seems like some voices I guess you just need to, not to sound too hippie, but you just gotta learn your body and learn your voice. Because some people's voices are just more resilient, and like mine feels more resilient in some places. And like I just know now when we go to certain climates, like I can't deal with dust, like dusty climates, like anywhere in like California, Arizona, anything
dry
yeah,
heat.
like that. Without fail, I'll get like a throat infection or a sinus infection or something like that.
Right.
And it sounds like, I don't know, like maybe it's disgusting to preemptively neti pop my nose constantly, but it, like since I've been more active with that stuff, you get less sick. And at the end of the day, yes, going to the pub is nice. I like it very much. But if I go to the pub and then I can't play the show, like, you have to be responsible, you know?
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to go back to the beginning, and I think the origins of your band are pretty familiar to your fans. But even before that, like, what did your folks do? I want that's questions for all of you, and sort of like, what did the towns look like that you grew up in? What was the sort of family situation as far as like music in the household? This is the direction, the way you were influenced.
That's kind of an interesting one because neither of my parents are particularly musical. Sorry, mum and dad. My dad has been learning the guitar for like 5 years since we had some success.
He wants to be able to cover the tunes,
He's like,
right? Yeah, I get it.
I should get a guitar, shouldn't I? Yeah. Because maybe
might
I'm
need a
musically
touring guitar
talented.
player.
Yeah, and
Make something
I'm
happen with
all
his guitar.
Cool. And he's okay. He's not great. We come from a place called Clydebank in west side of Glasgow. Just kind of just like was really famous for shipbuilding. It's a hard place. Clydebank.
It's like a working class kind of
Proper
town, or-
working class town, really tough school. So when I was learning the piano, I used to get quite a lot of shit. Can you swear?
Oh, yeah, it's a
sorry.
podcast.
All right,
You
cool.
can do it,
I used to get a lot of shit for being interested in music at school. But I think that kind of thing teaches you how to stand up for yourself in a way. And I've been, and to adulthood, been quite, I'm not afraid to say what I think. I think that comes from getting beatings at school,
If you have a weird idea, any of their criticism is nothing compared to what the kids said to you on the
Sure.
schoolyard.
Which I grew up in a few different like small kind of rural towns in Scotland, and I moved to Glasgow for college, so I didn't get there till later. And my mum was a teacher, my dad was an engineer. And I guess they played a lot of music in the house, but neither of them were, like, my mum plays a bit of piano, but they weren't musicians or in bands or anything like that. It was more just, they would listen to a lot of, like, my dad's really, we were talking earlier, my dad's into Yes, and he's into, like, Steely Dan and things like that. So when I was a kid, I thought my two favourite things were Steely Dan and Whitney Houston, which is very confusing. A very strange place to be, but I feel like if you grew up listening to it, then maybe you just appreciate it in a different way than you do if your parents are musicians or something.
Sure.
I grew up in a town called Whitburn, which is like a sort of working class mining town. And mum was a teacher and my dad was a social worker.
That's my combo too.
Is that right?
My mom's a high school teacher. My dad's a social worker.
There you go.
Good.
And you're a
Just in Toronto.
musician. So
And here we are.
Hey.
Yeah.
I guess, I grew up in church, and I guess that's where I got a lot of my musical education from.
Ian's got the best chops in the band by a mile, like playing chops. So it makes sense that he grew up in the church because
Can you play
all the
piano
best
and-
players are like.
Yeah, piano lessons again. Some as Doc from about 6-ish. So yeah, there's always been around music. Like my dad played sort of piano in a traditional Scottish dance band for a while.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
they were
cool.
called. You'll love this. They're called the Tartan Lads.
It really does what it
You guys
says
should
in
do a
the tin
secret
there.
gig under that name.
Honestly, these sound like male strippers.
Full Monty. Are they available for support slots for the autumn time? Or?
don't know if they're still alive. Actually,
Because if the tickets go fast, like those are the rules. If the tickets go fast, you get to choose whatever support it is you want.
That's right. And if you need,
So-
if they're going a little slow, you got to get
You
that
heard it here
top
first,
tier
Toronto.
support.
Yeah.
If you want the tartan lads, if you want the tartan lads, you got to buy the tickets fast, Toronto.
Right.
You know what's funny? Actually, my dad, who's not Scottish at all, he's like a Jewish guy from New York. He's really into contra dancing, which is, I think, a type of Scottish folk
Country dancing?
Well,
No.
yeah, they call it contra dancing, but it's like I think Scottish folk dancing or
What they
English.
do, like kind of.
Yeah, it's sort of dozy do kind of
Oh yeah.
kind of
like,
thing. But they have like
Wind-
traditional
not the
bands
Wind-
come in.
What's it called?
Strip the Willows.
Strip the Willows. Wind in the Willows is a different thing.
The
completely.
Dashing White Sergeant.
Contra, I think it's Scottish, but I don't think it's Irish, and I don't think it's English.
So
Somebody-
in school you have to actually. It was compulsory in my school to do that dance.
To dance.
Yeah. The
They
Highland
would teach
dancing.
you as
or
like
whatever
a
it's
couple of lessons of PE a year. You would have to do.
That's what it is, to
And I
prepare
don't
you for
remember
the high
any
school
of it.
dance.
I feel bad. Like I go to weddings and if people have like traditional Caine as a wedding, I'm like, I don't remember any of this. I'm just gonna have to go to the snack area whilst this is occurring.
Well, so coming out of that, like you said, you have musicians' parents, and yours, are into music. nothing at all until recently with your dad.
Now he's a god.
Yeah. with like music and having a career in music, it's such an unconventional career, and like the odds are super low. And because you guys all obviously went to post-secondary, like university, I guess my question would be, did you think like, oh, music is a viable career, like we're going to be doing this? Or was there sort of a plan if things didn't work out in the way that they have?
I didn't have a backup plan, frankly. And I hit like 27, 28, and I was, you know, not doing particularly well. I was playing session in somebody else's band, getting paid not any money, basically. And kind of got to the point where I was ready to quit trying.
Yeah.
I come back from a really hard tour in Europe, and I just, you know what, even the band that I was playing for was not a success at that point. And it was like
as a hired musician.
right?
Yeah,
and
as a touring guy, yeah.
I'm like, I can't even get a gig in a band that's working as a hired gun or whatever. And I was just I went and met Ian, went and met Campbell, our manager, who had found success as a tour manager with a bunch of big Australian acts. He was doing like Gautier and
Temper
Trap at the time.
Right.
And he was like, it's insane that you two haven't written together after all these years. We've been friends and we'd always been the two kind of computery guys in the band. Just give it a go. Don't quit the business. Just try something. And literally it was 6 months later where our band was exploding and we met Lauren and it was happening. It was literally, but I had to go to the brink.
Yeah.
I was exceptionally poor and I was getting older and there was nothing happening. I had a degree in music.
Right.
But
What does that get
what
you?
the hell does that get you?
Sure.
If your band doesn't make it or you're not a teacher, sure, I could have gone and been a music teacher, but I would have had to go back and did a bunch of teacher training and like whatever. So yeah, it was interesting to go to the brink of absolute failure to then see the wind change like overnight one day, and
Do you
that's
still
kind of
think,
what
like,
happened.
thank God, because your life now is so different.
It's so I don't take anything for granted at all for that reason, and it's not like every day I'm just so thankful in it, but I am. I don't go around saying it all the time, but I know what we have. I know how unlikely it is. It's insane, you know. But it's a good feeling to release a record, let alone be talking to you guys on a third album. You know, it's crazy.
But you were right there.
I was at the brink of completely quitting music, and I was telling you that I was going to be a history teacher.
That's right.
Like, what the fuck do I know about history? I was like obviously in a weird frame of mind at the time, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess when I left high school, I wanted to go to art school, and I was told, you know, you got to be really, really good to get into art school. I was like, well, fine, then I'm not going to do that. So I went to do architecture for a couple of years, and then realized that actually music was the only thing that I really, really wanted to do, and that was actually any good at. So I went and did the same course that Martin was on, applied music. And went through that, and then ended up doing sort of film scoring and TV stuff, sort of freelance and commercials and stuff. Lots of music for that. Played in a bunch of bands as well. Obviously, forgot about that part of the story.
Did Aerogram do a lot of stuff in Canada?
I played a few times in Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were making a career in the arts, and
Right. But it was always going to be that, I think, for me.
I guess I'm the untrained one. I am the everyman.
You mean you were the smart one that went and actually tried to get a job and like some useful education?
Well, I don't know. When I was 16, like everybody who's 16 in a band, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the one. It's never the one. Like you always think that that's the band, but it's not. But yeah, I don't know. I never thought that I was good enough at any instrument to try and go and do music. So I went and did. I guess when people talk about school, I'm like, I don't have good memories of it in terms of the social aspect of it, but I have good memories. I'm like, oh my goodness, you just got to learn all the time. We were all being so ungrateful. We're complaining. You have all this time and all these resources. Just learn. Like now, I feel like people always sneer at like mature students at university because they take it so seriously and they're so grateful. But I'm like, yeah, I can see that. But yeah, I guess I liked school in that regard. And I did a 4-year law degree and then multimedia journalism thing And I guess I was like a production runner when this band started happening.
Wow.
So that's what I was doing. But I guess I was playing in bands at the same time, but never to the level that you can quit your day job or you think it's actually going to be a thing. And, you know, production running is a competitive field. So I kind of felt like I was never sleeping. I was trying to do all those jobs and trying to be in the band and trying to be the one that was organizing everything for my old band. And yeah.
Yeah.
And then Ian recorded my old band, and then he had asked if I would come and do some backing vocals for these guys. And I was like, sure. It's a Sunday afternoon. I'm not doing anything. So that's what
And the
it was
rest
a
is
Sunday
history.
afternoon, yes. I remember that because I was late because it was a Sunday bus service. And I was like,
Yeah, Sunday bus service.
I never remember if you and I actually intended to trick Lauren into joining the band, or if it is as natural as we often say that it was.
The myth.
I'm trying to remember
Martin
the
was,
truth.
you were going to be the singer in our little project.
Yeah. I mean, I had been
you've got
singing
chops.
demos. I'm fine. But there's a difference between being good or okay or, you know, palatable on some level and then what you do. I think that's quite different.
Sure.
Thanks.
Because I've been recording music with all sorts of people, some unbelievably talented people my whole life, but I'd never felt the feeling that I felt the day that we recorded together for the first time. I was like, wow, okay, this is something else. Yeah.
it seems quite, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I guess I can't tell because it comes out of my body. So I'm like, well, I mean, I have to like it because it's mine and it's how I express myself or whatever. But I can imagine it as an outside point of view. It must be quite Marmitey. You know what I mean? Because it's not like a technically perfect vocal.
So
And I
it's
imagine some
personality.
people probably really like it because you can feel the personality in it. And some people probably like, what is this? Why
Sure.
is this on the radio? Get this out of my ears. But I think I'd rather have love it or hate it than
Well,
not be bothered.
you've hit on why we've had any kind of like attention, because it does that to people. You see, if you got a voice that just drowns into the background or nobody, it's okay.
Yeah, there's lots of fine singers,
that's
but what
nothing.
makes
That's
something
technically
special?
correct.
Right?
Yeah.
That's nothing.
Totally.
That just goes into the noise. If you have a voice that polarizes people,
Like Dylan or Neil Young.
right, then
Or
you're onto
Mick.
something.
Mick has a very, he would never win a
Right.
singing competition, but
That's it. If
it's a
you've got-
completely
if-
remarkable voice.
Exactly. If you-
Jagger?
Yep.
All right. You said
First name choice.
Yeah.
My mate Mick from down the road. You know,
Yeah.
better Poland, I think.
Mick Farrell, he works in the office next door. He's awesome at karaoke on Thursdays.
Love that Mick Jackson album. Stellar.
Like we always talk about like the difference between, and I'm not putting myself in this category in any way because that would be very arrogant, but the difference between like a good singer and a good vocalist, to me those are different things. Like a good vocalist can do all these amazing things and have the tricks and the chops to do those things, and you've got the technical prowess and the technical range, but you could sing something and it might not actually make anybody feel anything. And I definitely have people I go listen to listen to what they're doing and to practice it later to know that I'm like, okay, I could do that. But then there's people who couldn't sing you any of these specific things, but like when they sing it, like they just break your heart. And I feel like that's more where we're at with wanting, I don't know, that's the kind of singer I would like to be. I don't know if I am that, but like maybe one day, guys, maybe one day.
Well, Lauren, I wanted to talk about, I guess in June 2016, we were listening to this podcast you did with Ben Gibbard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which was the Tacos podcast.
I had to do that from a car park. It was very.
Yeah, you called in from like the side of the road.
I felt
right?
really bad because poor Ben had been on the phone for ages, like trying to wait for me to get, and then I had to pull over, and I kept calling in, and it just wasn't working. It's one of those things. And I was like, he's gonna think that we're dicks, and we never met him yet, and but it was
He's a
fine.
wonderful
He's a
man.
wonderful man.
He seems like a sweet guy.
Yeah, on the pod, you wondered aloud sort of what you might write about after spending 2 years on a bus. So how did you find inspiration on this record? How do you go about documenting themes and ideas in general?
So it's all about a bus. No.
Yeah, that's the name of the album, the secret name.
Yes.
The Bus.
What else can you write about after 2 years on a bus other than 2 years on
On a bus, yeah. Well, I feel like we took a little bit more time over this record than we did the last one. Just because I guess we had the luxury of doing so. You had the space to do it. We're like, okay, we don't have to worry that people are going to forget about us. We did enough work during those 4 years that like I feel like people like us, they'll hang around for a minute. So we took a few months off to just be human beings and not have a day sheet and
Yeah, that was
tour
the
pass.
first. We took a 3 month break, which is we took 6 weeks, which was the previous record between album 1 and 2, and we took 3 months. So we doubled it. We doubled our break.
And
which-
doubled the amount of time we took to write the album.
Yeah, which is the most time we've ever taken for off, which seems now bizarre and like almost unhealthy.
And I think from a musical standpoint, maybe by the end of touring, you're kind of ready to get in and start doing new ideas. You might be emotionally a bit tired, but musically you're ready. But I feel like with lyrics and stuff, I kind of need to. It depends. I'm sure everybody's different, but for me, I need to go away and like actually live around a little to like
experience.
get out of tour mentality and get out of the gig persona mentality, and then think about how to write, because I feel like the best stuff that we've written is the stuff that's the most honest and the stuff that you've kind of actually been introspective and investigated things, and I can't do that on a promo day. Not that we're not being introspective now, but you know what I mean. Like, it's a different mindset completely, and I think that's where we want to write. So you just have to kind of sit and wait for like the lightning bolt to be like, okay, good, we're ready.
Yeah. Well, you guys have talked about working with Greg Kurstin and his ability to play Jedi mind tricks and sort of find the best
like
parts
that.
of the song.
You keep saying Jedi.
He is,
and that
if there's a
comes-
true,
Yeah, it's in the
if there's
press
a
release,
true
I
Jedi,
think.
is it?
Yeah, I think that's how we found it. Yeah.
I feel like he is a true Jedi. He will only, I feel like, and he uses the Force not to keep going, but he uses the Force for good. You know, there's,
Keep the analogy going.
well, there's a lot of people that are in his position who are not like he's such a like great musician, but he's like super classy with the way that he applies his Jedi
His
powers.
approach. Well, I mean, on this podcast, we like to get into sort of the minutia of how people do their work, and so you always hear about like how somebody who's producing or someone you've worked with has like done things, but like what specifically has he like sort of done to help shape the songs? You know, from lyrics to melody, production. Like, how would you describe his handprint?
He's an incredible like all round musician, and the way that we've been kind of talking about it amongst ourselves is that it kind of feels like all of a sudden we had another amazing musician in the band, like this great keyboard player has suddenly joined the band. He just felt like one of us. Like he loves music the way that we do. He's a music fan, you know, and really, I guess he kind of laid down the bed for a lot of our ideas to kind of grow from. And that was like, I mean, we wrote everything with him in the room. It's not like any of us brought ideas in. It was all kind of like spontaneous and collaborative, and like he would kind of drop a seed into the room and then like it would explode from there like really, really quickly. That's when we knew that the collaboration was going to be a really fruitful one, was how fast and how satisfying the music was that was coming out.
He tends not to, which was really good for us, being so opinionated, but he's not the guy coming in saying, I don't respond to this run melodically, or I don't like this lyric specifically. You'll know, he won't try and write a top line for you or come up with lyrics in the room. That's not him. He will let you write a song, and you'll know, as the way that I came to know with you guys, and the way that we know with each other, if a top line is working. You can look, all you need to do is look across the room. You can see somebody's face, and
Someone's
you know,
body's reacting to it.
You know,
right?
you know if you're in flow. You know if it's shit,
Yeah.
okay, good, or feels special, and having Greg in the room as another opinion, another ear for when you're top lining and when you're writing and you're doing that spontaneous part of the process was just so valuable.
What's his energy like as a person?
So low key.
Okay.
He's not like an ego guy, and and Steve Mack is the same. The guys at the very, very top of the game, the untouchable ones in the game now, they're zero ego.
Yeah.
They're not competing with anyone, and that was so refreshing because we met quite a lot of thirsty people along the way who are maybe 2 clicks below that, who are all ego. And that was really not an enjoyable experience working with people like that, you know?
I read this interview with Max Martin, you know, the songwriter Max Martin.
Sure,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well,
I've listened to pop music in the last 20 years. I'm all familiar.
you know that guy?
You know that guy.
And
he's got a lot of hits out there.
Yeah,
he's got a couple.
I think he's gonna do well. I don't know.
He's on his way.
He'll be all right.
But he just talked about
Never
this-
met him, so I don't know.
Well, we played Coachella and I met him backstage.
No
and
way.
I picked his brain for like
I imagine
15
he has
minutes.
like a cape and like a kind of
No, super
aura
low key.
that, like,
Just as the reason why he came to mind is because just the same way, he's very low key. Asked him like every question about like Katy Perry and the Backstreet Boys, and he just got right into it.
I will never have a bad word said against Katy Perry, just so we're clear.
Love her.
Just before you. Just
Step
in case.
lightly, Max.
Are you kidding me?
Careful.
I love Katy. The
feel
record "Teenage Dream" is the best record, best pop record.
Plus,
in the
do you not
last
think,
since Thriller.
I understand that some people were not so into it, but ultimately, at the end of the day, she's just trying to be a good person, man. And she's going to go down in history as having done the right thing at the right time.
Are you
And I think
100%
that is important. I don't know.
Why are you so
Stop
defensive?
attacking Max.
No, listen,
Like,
actually, the
she's
first
trying to
question
do
I
the right
asked him
thing.
was, I was like, how did you write Chained to the Rhythm? Because I think that song's amazing. And I don't think it did as well as they hoped, according to the chart predictions or whatever. But I was like, how did you do it? And she came in the day after, this is straight from the horse's mouth, after the election and wanted to say something political.
Gonna make me cry.
And he said the reference they had was, what's that? It was some like goofy reference for the rhythm, Coco Cabana or something.
okay, yeah.
So that was
Oh,
the
the
rhythmic
sugar.
reference. So I asked him anyway. And then I asked him about Lord and all this. It was really
That's so cool.
It was an awesome interview. But the point I'm getting to is that in an interview that I read with him, he's only done one in 20 years. Is that when he's
Yes, he's
showing
very mysterious.
very mysterious. And it's a great read, actually. Just look up the one Max Martin interview. And he says when he's showing somebody a new song and he's driving in their car, the only thing he wants to see is how their body's reacting to it. And if they're checking their phone by the second verse. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like if they're checking their phone by the second verse, the song's not good enough. And it was just like a yes or no kind of like are they reacting to it? It was so cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
I
got
also
defensive
love
there.
that Chained
No,
to
it's
the
good.
Rhythm.
Preemptively,
I
I
also
was
love Chained to the Rhythm, by the way.
I love that song.
How brave can it be to have a hook that goes Chained to the Rhythm? It's like to the rhythm, with that little weird kind of
Yeah.
triplety thing on the word rhythm. Come on, what's
Yeah.
not to like?
I don't know. Like, it was. I find sometimes we were talking about this yesterday because of some promo stuff we were doing, and I guess I'm like I don't feel the way I did when I was like 19 about stuff that people view as quote unquote mainstream. I think when I was 19, I was a lot more angry about those things because those. It's kind of like that high fidelity thing of like it's not what you're like, it's what you like. And then I remember being like, oh, I never listened to that band, so that blah blah blah. And then now I don't really feel like that. I'm like, to me, as long as it feels like it's genuine, I don't really mind. Like,
Well, it has
and you
value.
yeah,
know
like,
what I mean?
and if it means something to somebody, then surely that's ultimately what matters. Maybe I'm just older and wiser and sadder. I'm not sure. But then to me, I'm like, and it doesn't just because something is a massive stadium pop project doesn't mean that it's not coming from a place you can tell when it's not. Like, well, let's not name names, but you can tell when it's not.
No, we can name
but
names,
like,
yeah.
no, we're not. You're not gonna trick me. But you know what I mean? I was like, at least, like, she's this massive pop star, but I feel like I believe what she's saying. I think that she means it. And I've seen Katy Perry live twice, and I'm not ashamed of it because it was great. But like, I don't know. Like, I went to see her with our tour manager on the Prismatic tour.
Have you met her now?
Briefly, yes.
Yeah. Do you
She
like have
was-
the juice now to like
No, she was very amazing and she was lovely. But I was like, I was like, go take care of yourself. I'm like, drink tea. I can't handle. But like, there was a guy, like a dad next to us that brought his little girl, and she opened the show with like she came out the stage playing Roar, and I was like, oh,
That is the
Right.
song.
just like crying my
that's
face off, and I was
unbelievable.
like, just teaching the little
incredible.
girls to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because like as somebody now who a lot of people
I think I don't know what's wrong with me today.
You feel emotional.
Yeah.
It was the plane travel or something.
I don't know. He has the
press days.
altitude from the plane. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess as you guys become obviously more successful and prominent, and you being sort of the front person, like you're that person now for so many people. How much do you think about that, contextualize that in sort of the things that you say and the ways that you act and what you write in your art?
I guess in terms of what we're writing, I kind of view that as a little bit separate in a way, because I feel like what we're writing has to be personal and has to be coming from some kind of vulnerable place to an extent. But in terms of like how you then share that, I kind of want it to be genuine and authentic, but I want it to, I don't know, we were talking about this earlier. I was like, I always like with that stuff, with the decisions that you're making, I want to try and ask them like, okay, well, how would teenage me feel about this particular issue? What would you want to see? What do you want to do? And I guess I feel like that's the truest way that I know how to do it, I suppose. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you know, using your voice for say like a social or political cause, are you more conscious now of what you say in the sense that it's like, I need to be careful with what I say? Or are you like, now that I have a bigger megaphone, like, fuck it, I'll say what I want because there's more people listening?
I think a mixture of both. I think that it's not realistic when people say, I never signed up to be this, because I'm like, well, you have to be aware that by the nature of what you do, you have that platform. So what do you want to do with that platform? But I think for us, it's been about finding the balance between being responsible and like conscious of things, and not. Also, what we're doing is supposed to be fun and escapism, and a place for people to feel understood or feel like they can not think about things for a second, or feel like they're understood for a second. Like, I feel like that's the important balance to have, but
Like a break from the real world.
yeah,
like an
kind of,
escape that
especially at
music
shows
can
and stuff. I feel like that's what you want that to be, but also I think it's unrealistic when people, we were talking about this earlier too, but if you say that you don't want to get involved in certain things that at this point are kind of impossible to not be involved in, then you're only able to say that because you have that level of privilege, and that's really nice for you, but that's not fair to everybody else. Like when there was a kind of trend however many years ago of female musicians and actors and stuff saying, oh no, I'm not feminist because I don't hate men. And I'm like, or I'm not feminist because nothing bad has ever happened to me. I've never experienced sexism. I'm like, I want to go and like slow clap and be like, you mugged yourself. You didn't even realize. Like, it is. You just don't even realize it is. And in that moment, I'm like, well, you feel like that because you're at a point where that doesn't affect you anymore, and that's nice. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what kind of person do you want to be, you know?
Mm-hmm. Are you thinking about money?
Yeah. And at this point, like, I understand that, like, if it's not something that comes up in the course of what you're doing, then it's easier to not talk about it. But there are some people who are being point blank asked about something, and I think we'll look back on this time and
who spoke up and who didn't.
Yeah, I think that's, you choose what. Like, if you don't actively want, you don't have to go around on a soapbox being this insane activist if you don't want to. But
There's
if
a way
you're actively trying to silence people and like damaging things that people are trying to work on, I don't think that's fair. That's not right.
There's this saying from this movie called The Weatherman that I love. It's like, I don't love the movie, but I love this saying. It's with Michael Caine and Nicolas Cage from a long time ago.
Are you going to do the accent?
I'm not going to do the Michael Caine voice.
Everyone try. Everyone has a
He does a good Michael. If he's drinking, it's an awesome Michael Caine. He did it on the weekend.
I did do it on the weekend, yeah. But, Nicolas Cage is his son and Michael Caine is the father. And Nicolas Cage is at this sort of crux in his life, this crossroads. And he turns to his dad and he's like, Dad, I don't know what to do. And Michael Caine says, have you ever noticed that the hard thing to do and the right thing to do are usually the same thing?
That's pretty good.
And I think that saying has always stuck with me whenever I've sort of had like a difficult decision, whether it's to speak out at something or say, hey man, whatever. I'm always like, it'd be a lot easier to keep it moving and not get involved. But it's like the right thing to do and the hard thing to do tend to be the same thing. But
And as much as like what the specific stuff that we're writing isn't necessarily overtly political,
right?
It kind of, I find it really infuriating when people do that. Stay in your lane. I don't want to know about your thoughts and feelings and opinions. I'm like, well, what do you think music's made up of? It's made up of thoughts and feelings and opinions.
Yeah, Nikki Haley.
Sorry to break it to you.
Yeah.
But
Well, I guess also like within your band and the working dynamic, have you guys always been like super democratic? Like, what happens when there's a disagreement? Is there like,
we wrestle.
Next question.
Yeah, next question. Keep it moving. Ultimately, is it always like majority rule 2-1, or do you guys find that you don't come across those
We
things?
just discuss things. Really.
Yeah, I think we loosely operate the veto system, and it's kind
Really?
of like
Have we ever?
accepted that nobody takes the piss with it, if you know.
Yeah, I feel like we're similar enough most of the time that we don't really disagree much. And then a lot of the time, if somebody has a reservation, you can sit and talk about it and you'll figure it out. And if after talking about it, one person's still really, really uncomfortable about it, then whatever it is won't come to pass, because that's just not, you can't, I think that stuff breeds an environment in a band that is going to make your band very short-lived.
Yeah, it's not like a one person having the majority say over anybody. It's more like if anyone has a really strong opinion about something, the other two will sit down and say, help me understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Explain to me why you feel so strongly. And if it makes sense, great, let's move forward. If it doesn't, if you just can't get past it, then we go the other way,
Yeah,
Let's
kill it.
go.
Plus, I guess with all things, it's about trying to listen. Like, you might feel really, really strongly about something, but you're not going to get what you want by like shouting at someone. And a lot of the times, if we don't agree on things, then you have to ask, if you trust that person, you have to ask, well, why? Why do you feel like that?
Yes.
Explain to me why, rather than being like, oh, it's so annoying you feel like that. And that, to me, is really irritating.
As long as respect exists within a band, you can hear anything from your bandmates. If you don't feel respected, or that there's some sort of deep-rooted upset in the dynamic, it's way harder to move forward, you know?
Yeah,
As long as there's no ego and respect exists, you can make decisions pretty easily. And if someone has a really strong opinion, you can trust them that they're saying it for pure reasons and not selfish ones. And that's why we're still able to be a band at this point in time.
Yeah, I think that chemistry is really difficult to find, and you know, the bands that make it work the longest, or anywhere you work, you know, anytime you have coworkers or family or relationships, that kind of open communication and like not feeling like somebody has an agenda all the time is like you can accomplish anything. I think.
There's a foundational understanding that everybody's in it for the right reasons, and if you start there, then and it's also easy to say no to stuff, even if you in our band, like if you slightly disagree with somebody, but you can tell it's bothering them, whatever. There's 10 other decisions that need to get made that day.
Sure.
Nothing is going to be the be all end all.
Yeah. And I guess it feels like it's about, like, we know each other so much better now than we did like 6 years ago. Like, I think we always like liked and understood, like, respect each other, but we didn't understand each other in the same way. And I feel like we've always gotten very well, but I feel like we get on better now because we've had those few tussles where you're trying to figure somebody out and trying to, because you can't see inside somebody else's head.
Well, it's trust. It's actually a trust thing. I've come to understand in hindsight. It's really difficult to trust people when you're this deep into something you're so emotionally involved with. It's like a relationship, and you have to trust isn't just bestowed because it has to be. It's earned, and it takes time. Especially when you're Scottish and you're really guarded and like everyone's like,
well, yeah, and
naturally. We're all, I think,
Not super open
The
and-
Scots are naturally suspicious. It's like the first people that are like, "Why are you doing this to me?" Like, and that's fine. You know, that's just the way I know I'm like that to an extent. And once you earn trust and respect, like in any friendship, relationship, or an abandoned scenario, then you can have a career, long career.
it has to feel safe, I think, in any of
As long
those.
as people like your music, of course.
Like in any of those relationships, like you have to feel like there's a base level of like security or something, so that then you can, I don't know. And there's enough nonsense in this industry without, if you didn't like your bandmates, you didn't trust your bandmates, I think it'd be a very lonely place to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, there's a lot.
Do you guys read a lot of books on mindfulness? It seems like you guys are all reading the same
we're
book.
all in therapy. And
Yeah, it's good. It's great. No, it's
We're
very
doing
healthy.
like
We've
Metallica style.
We've got a performance like anxiety coach on the road with. No, we don't. It's
Just
like,
called
have you
our
seen
manager.
Some Kind of Monster
Oh yeah.
where they've got the sports
I think that's
psychologist
probably a
on the
good
road with
idea.
them?
Like, I'm very pro all
therapy.
things.
Yeah.
We haven't done it yet, but I'm not. Maybe one day. You never know. No,
It's Lars. It's Lars.
Lars doesn't want to go. Kirk doesn't want to go. He just wants to play solos, man. It's only when the solos are threatened that Kirk's like, wait.
If you need to be paying some guy to come in and fucking figure out a way that you can actually talk to each other, then probably just quit, you know? Just like, fuck that shit, man.
We've seen the first crack in the group.
divide.
I know.
Personally, that's a different thing.
Do you know what's funny? This is
For a band.
literally a conversation that happens in Some Kind of Monster.
All right. Yeah. Was it Lars that's the dissenting voice?
What?
I'm the Lars of the band.
I think
Does
generally
your
speaking,
dad
your
wanna come
mental
down and
health
give
is
us
better
advice?
than
We're fine.
Metallica mental health.
Right.
I think
So
so.
you guys are all right.
Yeah.
I think the lines of communication are very healthy in this band.
You're not each
Let
taking
me
a private
just
jet
say-
to the gig because
No.
that's where they. That's where they.
That's
roll.
the next step.
Yeah.
If you've got private jet kind of money, then you probably need to stop being in a band with the person you don't like and just go and enjoy your life with your private jet money.
Do your thing.
It's like, it comes to a point where you just need to be like, maybe this isn't working. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, our listeners will be hearing this in a bit.
Can we end on a more positive note?
Yeah.
So the album name, which is embargoed, so people that are hearing this will know that we know this on
They know,
February
but you don't.
6th. So what is it? Do you want to unveil?
Or
it?
do you not want to say?
Or
it
do you guys
again?
not wanna
If
say
you
it
don't
on
want to
this
mutter it
press?
out loud, that's okay too.
So when will that? I'm confused by the. When will it come out?
This will come out far later. We won't sandbag you guys.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine then. Yeah.
It's called Love is Dead.
Okay.
So that's not even that. That seems like a negative note to leave it on, but it's not. Like we were talking about this, and I guess like we like the idea that on the face of it, it's a bold statement to make, but you can kind of read it in whatever way you want. Like it could literally be that statement, or is there a question mark on the end? Is there an ellipsis on the end? And it's kind of like meant to be like a conversational, like a frustrated conversation starter.
Well, it's a hopeful record. I think if you look,
We've heard it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you
we
like
got
it?
Vince
Yeah, we
got
got
it.
the link.
cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like there's the lyrical content is not that demure. I mean, the themes are pretty hopeful at the end of the day. I think. Not that I wrote any of them. But,
No, I
you know what
think
mean?
it's like finding the balance between the frustration and the confusion, and like realizing that things aren't as idealized as you thought they were in terms of yourself and other people in the world and where we're living. But what do you do with that? Like once you know about that, do you want to just sit with that kind of weight, or do you want to try and do something else with that? And I feel like that's what the title's about, and that's kind of where we're at.
Well, thanks so much for your time, guys.
This was fun.
Thanks for
Thank you.
Yeah,
This is
we
so
appreciate
cool.
it.
Thanks
We
for
can
the
talk to you
free
guys for
therapy.
hours. You guys are awesome. Welcome to the dessert. We are joined, as always, because it wouldn't be a dessert without him, by our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. Shane, what do
Well,
you got
it's
for
been
us?
a dessert without me before.
I knew he was
hasn't
going
it,
to
Mac?
bring that up. I knew you shouldn't have said that.
When you guys go pee in a urinal, do you unbutton your pants fully, like unbuckle your belt and then do it, or do you pull it like through the little zipper
No,
hole?
unbuckle the belt and undo the top button.
Okay, and then open it up and then stick it out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, is that what you do?
I wear diapers, man. I have always undone my belt and the top button and unzip.
Webmaster Dan?
Belt button zipper.
Okay, good, because I was doing that and a guy was like, "Whoa, you what are you taking your pants off?"
Really? Where was
Yeah,
this?
yeah, this
In
is
the building?
The bathhouse?
in the building. And I was like, "That's the normal thing." And I was talking about it with someone else.
But
And
was your underwear down and your ass fully out?
Pants were around his ankles. He's just standing at the urinal like a 6-year-old.
Drop down.
that's a very funny question, but of course not, Max. But no, okay, so I'm doing the normal thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because
I've never known any other way.
just something that was on my
curious.
mind from last week.
Yeah.
Because you and I were
Burning
peeing
questions.
beside each other, and I
Well-
wanted to look over, but I was like, Max is going to think I'm like looking at his penis.
It is a Juno Award-winning penis. It's just a fact, man. And yours might join him very soon.
I know,
Shane,
that'd be amazing.
I've always wondered about like tighty whities. You know how like they have kind of the hole for the wiener to come out.
Yeah.
Does anyone ever use that hole?
No.
No.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, is there a reason that this hole's here and I'm an idiot and just haven't used it?
Yeah.
But so the nut is going to South Korea, which I don't know how this ties in, but he told me now he doesn't feel like he wants to do the Drew Grange rap thing anymore.
Wow.
He's like now I guess because he's like on this elevated level that he thinks it's bad publicity.
He's affiliated
You're
with the
part of it?
Olympics, so now he can't have that diss track stink on him.
Yeah. I
Max,
just wanted,
you're reacting almost like you knew this information.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know it at all. I mean, it's predictable.
Well, you're picking your nails like you don't care and all that. whatnot.
No, I mean,
Do you think that it is the right political play for him, Max?
yeah, I mean, from the beginning, I thought him participating in a crass rap battle probably wasn't the best career move for him.
Right.
I don't know if the Olympics has anything to do with it, though. So
No?
I don't know what gave him a change of heart. But as a fan of the pod, I'm disappointed.
Well, I think he likes to do stuff to stay in the news cycle. So
The
I
pod
think-
news cycle.
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay, so I don't know if it's exciting news. I can't really talk about it, but I was listening to Scaramucci on Axe Files.
Oh, I told you to listen to that one.
I know. So
Anthony, the mooch.
the mooch. So I don't want to give anybody's hopes up, and I can't divulge anything more than this, but I may be able to get the mooch on the pod.
Come
What?
But I
I don't believe it.
I know, and I can't say more though.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you tell us off the air?
No, because I'll need to say it on the air.
Okay.
Why?
I'm racking my brain to figure out your 6 degrees of separation of the mooch.
I won't divulge how, and I honestly can't. But I'm just
For our listeners that don't know, Anthony Scaramucci spent a few days being like the
White House press
secretary, yeah, or
advisor
like
to the president.
yeah, and then he was fired within like a week because he basically said that other members of the White House staff should suck their own dicks.
It's an amazing interview. Listen to the Axe Files with Anthony Scaramucci. Did you like the interview?
yeah, it was cool. But you could, like you were saying, you could tell the guy was getting a little annoyed with him.
Yeah, big time.
Wow.
Again, this isn't what I was here to talk about either. This is just like bonus stuff.
You're welcome, listeners. You know how Shane pees, and we might get the mooch.
Blessed.
This went pretty well last week, so I wanted to try another brainstorm.
Hey, how did the Rec Laws thing go? I didn't hear anything about it.
Okay, so that's what I want to talk about also. So as good as the brainstorm was, and I thought you guys were really hilarious and great, it kind of backfired when it came time to do the actual digital dessert with them. Because remember when I did the one with Chris Caraba from Dashboard Confessional?
Yeah.
You were like, Shane, I may have to take off during your digital dessert.
Oh, yeah.
So you came up with some excuse, it wasn't because you were embarrassed to be in the same room as I did it, but then you magically reappeared the second the digital dessert ended.
I remember that.
Yeah, okay. So I see through what was going on there. But then, so Mike, all of a sudden, he became a part of the digital dessert. And in case people listening right now haven't listened to the last dessert, we were talking about a lot of incest-related jokes to do with the Rec Laws and kind of mess around in, fun, lighthearted incest jokes. Like, honestly, they were. I know it sounds like a weird juxtaposition, but they were. But once the day of, I met Mike in the fishbowl, and Mike had like a nervous energy, almost like he was about to perform and not me. And I was like, oh, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, Mike's acting uncomfortable with it. And then Mike's like, oh, would it be weird if I kind of just like left for it and then came back? And I was like, I want you to stay because a lot of it, when I'm in the room, I want Mike to laugh. But that part was even kind of ruined because we had brainstormed together. And I guess the reason was, one of the people handling them.
Yeah, the main guy from the label who that label helped set us up with the Noel interview and so many great artists. And I said this to you. I was talking to Danica about it the night before. I was a little nervous because I'm like, I don't know how they'll take it. The Rec Laws seem like very earnest, nice people, and I didn't know how they would react to you. But what I said to her and what she said is, it's like, you have this ability and charisma that I wasn't worried. Like, if I was really worried, I would have actually not been there. But I trusted the process. But it didn't mean I wasn't worried that, like, if something turned just slightly weird, that then they'd be like, you ambushed us, or something like that. Because in a worst case scenario, the Rec Laws go, that was offensive, and they kill it, and then we have to kill the dessert.
Well, then I pictured the future, like, if it goes really bad, you have to say, Tony, listen, I didn't know anything about it, and then we have to lose that whole dessert where you're in on the brainstorm session. Anyway, so I decided no more digital dessert brainstorm sessions, and mainly not even because of that's a big part of it, but because I like when you guys are in the room, and then I can kind of like not impress you, but make you laugh in the room. Yeah. Although Max is like really embarrassed of them, whether he's a part of it or not. But
what?
Well, you left the Chris Caraba one.
Oh, sure. That's to do with something else, though.
Right.
Which I'm not going to.
Anyway.
By the way, I think the Rec Laws thing went great. So watch it. I'm sure it's up by the time you're listening to this.
I don't want to ruin it, but I ended up arm wrestling one of the Rec Laws.
That's perfect tease.
Okay, but I want to get Nathan Fielder.
Yes.
As you know. And anytime I ask you like anything, Max, like I'm like, oh, did you think that was possible? You always go, man, anything's possible. I believe if I put it out there, I'm going to get it. You always give that speech, like going to the Olympics kind of, right?
Sure.
You put it out into the world. I'm wondering if, since you're so good at stuff like that, if we can brainstorm creative ideas to get Nathan Fielder on the podcast. Whew. So my first idea, it's not a big one. I just changed my Instagram bio to, I'm currently looking for Nathan Fielder. If anyone can facilitate this, please DM me. Yeah. So that's not a huge thing, but that is something I did do, a small step. Now, if you were to do that, I think you would get a lot more traction than I would.
Why?
What do you mean? Why? You have 52,000 followers and counting. You're going to
He
Korea.
wants you to change your Arkel's bio
I
right
see,
just
I
before
see
you go
what
to
you're
Korea
saying.
to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
you're looking currently for Nathan Fielder.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to do that.
That's why it's a brainstorm. We're spitballing.
Okay, but here's what I'd say. When we were thinking about ways to announce the Tim Hortons Field Show, the rally, the first person I thought of, and the first person I thought of was Nathan Fielder, because I thought
know.
he could come up with some kind of like funny way of
Nathan Fielder, you're playing a field.
see, I didn't even think that.
Oh, okay.
But and we have a mutual connection with Nathan Fielder, and we reached out, and I don't even know if he got back.
Well, the backstory behind that too is I reached out to Matt Unsworth.
Okay.
And I said, Matt, listen, I've got an idea. All I need is 15 seconds with Nathan. I'm going to fly over there and literally I can do an interview in 15 seconds. I just want to meet him and ask him one question. And he goes, I would do this, but I've really been annoying Nathan and I used my last favor through Max.
Yeah.
And he didn't get back. And I think he's regretting giving me his email.
Yeah. But you know what though? In this context, the cachet the Arkells has as like, a band with 60,000 Twitter followers. Or,
It was 52 last I checked, but
It was 52 on Instagram, 60 on Twitter. Check
okay.
And not that we're counting.
No.
Is that I think he's way less interested in like an earnest rock and roll band who's like, I think he's way more interested in like interacting with oddballs and people who aren't necessarily famous and,
Who are maybe slightly insecure.
Yeah, is that a
slightly
subtle
insecure.
dig?
No, but I'm saying I think in this instance you have an advantage because
Okay.
the only people he's ever interacted with in his professional life are either the kings of comedy, where he'll make like a guest appearance on like The Night of or any of those movies where it's like Seth Rogen asked him to do it, or like people with a weird idea, i.e. I'm going to fly to Los Angeles and I need 15 seconds with him. I think he'd be way more into that idea. I think he's into you going, all I want to do is meet Nathan Fielder, because I think that might intrigue him. So anyway, I think you're off to a good start is what I'm saying.
I know, but I need help. Like, is there any way you could be like, hey, I have this oddball friend or
No,
whatever?
because he wouldn't even get back.
No? You
No.
can't just put it out there in the world?
No, I don't think he'd be interested in us at all. I think he'd probably look at us as a bunch
Okay,
of
so
lamos.
what do I do without any help then, Max? Like, what are some ideas?
Well, here's the thing: is like we do have a direct line through our friend Unsworth and other people.
Because I've contacted Unsworth. He said he's burnt out on
Yeah,
favors
he can't
because of
do that.
you. And then I used a person here named Sarah McLaren, who's a big supporter of the pod, and she sent him an email with some of our best episodes. To kind of get on his
So
radar.
what do-
But yeah, we could get him to do the lupus challenge maybe.
I don't think you'd want to do it.
No?
No.
Okay.
What about just going to LA and just trying to find him?
That's costly and it doesn't seem like it has a high percentage of happening.
Listen, we could find some inside info.
So like actually like
Stalk
stalk
him. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
stalk
kind of
him.
interesting.
Like, well,
Okay, you're right. Stalk him.
if you have the Cobra Cam and
Yeah.
you find out like just where he goes for coffee, and when he's walking to coffee, he might find this incredibly annoying and it could burn a bridge. But you would have some sort of content and an interaction where you go, "I'm a huge fan, and I think this might be something you do. I have one question. Will you answer it?" He may answer it on the street there.
So I fly down there
Yeah.
with the Cobra Cam.
Yeah.
I get Unzi to tell me where he goes for coffee.
Maybe not Unzi because we don't want him to burn a bridge.
All right, that's a big risk though. Is there any other ideas?
Okay, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the other thing that might move the needle is a huge financial guarantee. So here's the thing. You say to him, I want to do one interview. I know you're a pretty reclusive guy. I know you only do certain press. We've reached out before, but we're going to pay you $1 million for a 15-second interview.
One 15-second
But here's
exclusive.
the thing. The paperwork, it's not legal. We don't pay him. And then he tries to countersue you. And you say, we took 15 seconds of your time. Fuck you, Nathan.
Wow.
$1 million offer
$1
for
million
15-second interview.
Okay, but
See, that's pretty good.
Max, that's good.
hey, I like it.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm going to need you to do.
What?
Tweet it.
Yeah, I'll tweet that for sure.
60,000 followers.
Also, am I
60,000
retweeting
followers.
or
Not retweeting.
just
Tweeting.
Just
hey, I have this
So I'm
oddball
saying-
comedy friend. Would you
hey,
call me?
my friend wants to interview Nathan Fielder for 15
Yeah.
seconds.
He's willing to pay
He's willing
$1
to pay
million.
$1 million.
Willing is key.
Yes.
No, yeah, he's willing to pay $1 million.
You'll tweet that?
I'll tweet it for
the CBC
sure.
will eat this up.
Yeah. And then, okay, do we have any like fraudulent friends that pretend to be lawyers? Like, you know, do we have any friends that, you know, lie a lot and would pretend to be a
The
nut?
nut?
No, the nut wouldn't put himself out there.
Yeah, he won't even do a rap battle with you.
Yeah. But like, what about, you know, just think about some of your high school friends or something that like
Like you need a representative to pretend to be a lawyer.
so it's like, and he just lies about being a lawyer and saying,
Right.
but he'll hold up the paperwork saying this is a valid piece. This is a proper contract. I don't know what the terminology is. This is a proper contract.
I don't even think you have to go that far. I think once you get into the press, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you give him a novelty-sized check for $1 million after it's done.
That's
But
the
it's a fake.
loophole. I say I'm going to give him a check for $1 million. I don't say it's official. It's a fucking big novelty check.
Just a check.
It's just a check.
So you're going to tweet this?
Yeah.
You swear?
I'll definitely do it. Hey, so what's the tweet? Let's think about it. Hey, at Nathan Fielder, my friend Shane Cunningham is a huge fan and would love to interview for 15 seconds.
And this is from Markel's,
from
not
Markel's,
Max's
not just
Piddler
Max,
account.
no, from Markel's. And he's willing to give you a check for $1 million.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure. 100%.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Done.
When are we doing it?
ASAP.
Like right now?
Let's do it when this episode comes out.
Let's do it when the episode comes out.
Yeah. Don't back out though. And I know you're going to talk to manager Ash and she's going to flip.
That's it. That's all. That's our episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're very excited for Shane to get his interview with Nathan Fielder. Thank you so much to the whole crew from Chvrches, Ian, Martin, and Lauren. Their album's called Love Is Dead. And thank you to Dan Coman, Commander Dan, for coming in and taking the time to set up Mike on Much on Alexa. Check it out if you do have that.
The Mike on Much podcast can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Mike on Much. Shoot us a follow, leave a comment, tweet at us, do all those things. Leave ratings and comments in iTunes. That helps the show grow. The artwork is provided by Jenna Gregory at jennasdoodles.com. Huge thank you to Tara Paquette for putting together the artwork. Webmaster Dan, Justin Stockman, Greg Stewart, the whole gang here at Bell Media.
Thank you so much to everyone that mixes this podcast. It's a rotating crew of angels, and we are very thankful that you make us sound good on a weekly basis. The Mike on Much podcast is produced by Max Kerman. I'm your host, Mike Veerman. See you next week if we don't die on the weekend.